I feel like that's the destiny of all house cats is
Yeah.
they think they're going to grow up and do something worthwhile. That's why they train themselves with all the toys and jumping around because they think they're going to actually be hunters and vicious and all this stuff. But then they eventually just become Garfield in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Except my cat doesn't like lasagna. I mean, I keep throwing forkfuls of lasagna at his face.
He's just like, put like a pan.
Like it. Yeah. I whip the whole pan across the room and let it hit the wall and go all over the place. And he just runs away like he's scared instead of eating it.
Well, do you show him how to eat it? You're supposed to like pick it up with your fingers and just throw it in your face like Garfield, you know?
Right. Just rub it into my beard.
Yeah, rub it into your beard and everything.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
I do.
Okay.
And I just to make him feel more comfortable, I usually don't wear any clothes because cats don't wear clothes.
Yeah.
So usually I just whip a lasagna at the wall, let it explode all around the room, and then in the nude, pick it up off the floor and rub it into my beard. And it just doesn't seem to be working. So I don't know.
Okay. I think
trying.
Yeah, I think maybe next time put on underwear and see if that works. Yeah. Maybe that'll work. Who knows? I don't know. I've heard that
it's worth a try.
I've heard that cats are comfortable around underwear. You never know. So, with that thought in mind, greetings, citizens of Earth. Welcome to Accelerativ Thrust. I'm Dan.
And I'm Eric.
And today we have a very exciting episode. We are going to be talking to Keokuk-based singer-songwriter and also multi-instrumentalist, very talented artist, Nalani Proctor. I was first introduced to Nalani through her group called the PBJs a few years ago. She performed a couple of times in Muscatine, and she's also affiliated with the wonderful Closet Witch. I'm excited to talk to her about that. Well, not just the Closet Witch thing, but I'm excited to talk to her about everything. It looks like she has a very exciting and interesting history with music, and she's involved and has been involved in several projects of different genres, varying from the synth pop retro wave, as she described it, Finally Some Action.
Whom I love, by the way.
Yes, Finally Some Action is awesome. And it looks like she was also in some punk bands in the past, and she embraces both electronic and her solo stuff under her name. Nalani Proctor is also fantastic. You might recall that we reviewed one of her EPs. I think, I don't know how far back that was. That was a few episodes back.
Yeah.
So I would strongly recommend you check her out. So I also want to remind you that you can listen to us on Spotify, Content Made Right. And where else am I thinking? Amazon. And what else am I missing?
Google.
That's right. Yes, we're on Google. We're on.
I say Google now.
Google, yes.
Google. It sounds fancier.
Google.
Hey, did I ever tell you, this is so dumb, and I'm sorry to interrupt. When I was young, my dad went on a business trip to Texas, and then he was at the hotel bar, and he called me, and he said, "Hey, Eric, you're never gonna guess who I'm hanging out with." And I was like, "Who?" And then he said, "I'm hanging out with the Goo Goo Girls." And I said, "Who the hell are the Goo Goo Girls?"
Yeah,
he was pretty proud. That's all. Ever since then, I've called them the Goo Goo Girls.
The Goo Goo Girls.
Yeah, but recently I've been calling them the Google Dolls because I think that's really funny.
The Google Dolls and the Goo Goo Girls.
Right. So
wow,
that's how my story related. Yeah.
I forgot that the Goo Goo Dolls even existed as a band. I I don't want to piss off the Goo Goo Dolls. I hear they're very, very angry.
I mean, I also run their fan page on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and how's that going for you?
I like them a lot. I just don't
Mhm.
talk about it very often because, it's going okay. We share a lot of the same members as Candlebox is pretty.
Oh, Candlebox. Yeah. Those guys.
The same people are into that.
So is it Goo Goo Box now?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Okay. Google Box.
Google Box.
Google Box. Yeah. That sounds like fantastic stuff. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you should check out Google Box. Eric's new project that he's been keeping secret for years.
Yeah, it's on MySpace and GeoCities and also Facebook.
Angel Fire.
And Angel Fire.
Mm-hmm. ICQ.
I don't even know what that is.
ICQ was like the very first, like almost social media, like, and all it was, you actually like, you made a profile, but it was just a chat messenger. It was basically Facebook Messenger, but you had a profile that was just ICQ, but you didn't like post things like say on like MySpace, like you know what I mean? Anyway, this is all.
Yeah, I see a lot. I thought you meant like you see Q, like on Reddit, you see a lot of posts from Q.
Oh, Anon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, Q stands for Queensryche, though.
Queensryche Anonymous.
Queensryche Anonymous.
That's actually the Facebook page I'm going to start.
Yes, Queensryche Anonymous.
My name's Eric, and I'm a Queensryche fan.
So you're going to be running the Goo Goo Box and the Queensryche Anonymous. So, ladies and gentlemen, please check out Eric's new projects. He's heavily into promoting them right now. So, ladies and gentlemen,
it's Google Box and what else? Oh, Queensryche Anonymous. Okay,
Queensryche Anonymous. Yeah, Q Anon.
All right.
Jet City Woman. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, gosh, I don't even remember what the things about our podcast anymore. Like that just took my memory out of my skull. We were in the middle
of the old social media rundown.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you guys at this point if you guys really want to message us or, send us a comment, I suppose you could visit Instagram or Facebook on our official pages. And especially if you're in a local band, and by local, I mean Iowa, Illinois. Just send us all the love and hate that you feel is necessary. So we'll embrace it all in one way or another. But for seriously though, folks, if you have an artist that you would like us to feature in some way, whether it's a review or whether it's an interview, if you have any requests or anything like that, let us know. We're looking forward to doing a lot more episodes. Also, I want to remind everybody that the next episode, episode number 50, is our hair metal episode. So if you guys have a specific record from that era that you would like us to review, let us know. And if you're into hair metal, make sure you prepare for this episode. If you're not into hair metal, you should still listen to it anyway.
For sure.
That's my suggestion. So yeah, I think that brings us to some interesting news here. I have to give you credit, man. You're the one who found the news this week because I was slacking hardcore.
No problem.
And I gotta tell you, he found a couple of buttes here, man. Just pure buttes. Which one do you want to start with, Eric?
I don't care. You go for it. I actually forgot what I sent you. So
okay.
I'm kind of dumb like that, but it makes life kind of more interesting. Everything's a surprise. So
yeah, you don't have to remember everything. I mean, if you did, life would be boring and less interesting. Yeah. Absolutely. So let's start off with the woman blows out a giant booger 20 years after a childhood bead stuffing incident.
Yeah. Okay.
Man. So
Wow.
this Georgia woman, this poor Georgia woman, because this has to be, I mean, I don't understand. I don't see how she couldn't have been in pain for 20 years straight.
Yeah. I don't know.
She was shocked that a huge booger in her nose was actually a bead that had been lodged in there for 2 decades. And she actually documented this on TikTok. And it racked up over 7.6 million views. Hoping to get to the root of her problem, she examined her nostrils with an earwax camera. I didn't know they actually made earwax cameras.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Really? Like, can you actually see the inside of your ears?
Yeah. And I'm actually not lying this time. I really do have one.
Okay.
I thought that maybe I had, build up in my ears. And so I saw some dumb ad or whatever, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. And then I didn't have very much stuff in my ears at all. It was like,
wow.
I was sort of disappointed that I didn't have a bunch of shit in my ears. But I don't know. Now I'm stuck with this little tiny camera thing and I don't know what to do with it. And let's just say I've exhausted all physical possibilities.
Okay. Here's the thing. I struggled with ear infections like growing up, like constantly. And so, I mean, I knew there was like earwax cameras that the doctors used, but I had no idea like you could actually buy one for like home.
Yeah, totally.
I may need to invest in that because I think, and I'm not lying here either. I've thought my ears actually get plugged up. I actually have like excessive wax problem.
Well, if you want mine, you can have it.
Really?
Yeah, we could wash it or something. I mean,
you haven't done that yet? Like,
I mean, real good. So,
but the thing that I think the thing that we're missing out on here is an opportunity when you said wash it real good. To say wash it real good. Da, 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 da.
Oh, baby,
baby, wash it real good. Oh, I love Salt and Pepper, man.
I like that song a lot. I have not listened to a lot of Salt and Pepper other than the hits.
Yeah, well,
but I like the hits.
I love the hits,
and I really like Push It. It's like
it's classic.
It's like almost like a late electro hit. Anyway.
Yeah, it's really no, yeah.
We haven't even talked about this giant booger at all. Like, well, okay, let's stay on.
Yeah, let's break down the story here. So. Anyway, well, I mean, there really isn't that much more to say about it. I mean, it turns out she had a bead that was stuck in her nose for 20 years and she thought it was a booger. And it was this giant blue bead. Like there's actually a picture of it here on the NY Post article that you sent me. And you can watch a TikTok video about it. 7.6 million views, man.
Wow.
That's
a popular booger.
That's a very popular booger. Well, is it a bead or is it a booger? I guess we'll never know.
It's
a booger bead. There you go. Booger bead. So giant blue booger bead.
Yeah.
So that's the first news story, the giant blue booger bead. Now, this next one
But that's not it.
It's not it. This one I found particularly intriguing, Eric.
Ooh.
A broken toilet means SpaceX crew is stuck using diapers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, SpaceX.
All right.
You don't want to you make sure you say SpaceX and not X-Lax because that might be a big problem.
Yeah, SpaceX-Lax. Yeah. Her 3 crewmates and their SpaceX capsule. So, yeah, they had to deal with like a toilet leak, pulling up panels in their SpaceX capsule and discovering pools of urine. The problem was first noted during SpaceX's private flight in September when a tube came unglued and spilled urine beneath the floorboards. SpaceX fixed the toilet. I love how they say SpaceX fixed it because that sounds like a robot fixed it or something.
Right.
Call in SpaceX. They fixed the toilet on the capsule awaiting liftoff, but deemed the one in orbit unusable. So engineers determined that the capsule, I'm reading this word for word. Yeah. Engineers determined that the capsule had not been structurally compromised by the urine and was safe for the ride back. On the culinary side, the astronauts grew the first chili peppers.
Oh, yeah. That's responsible.
Very responsible.
Yeah. Okay. If you had a broken toilet and you had to shit in a diaper, would you really spend your time growing hot peppers? I mean, come on, man. Like, everyone just stick to solid carbs, protein. Let's not mix anything mushy, hot, oniony. I mean, I'm not trying to be gross here, but come on, you're wearing a diaper. We don't need to spice things up right now, you know? Okay,
so here's the thing, though. It says here that they have a nice spiciness to them, a little bit of a lingering burn. Then it says some found that more troublesome than others.
Oh my God.
This world we're living in, there's no way this is not a simulation at this point.
I agree with you, but also anyone running this simulation should probably just turn it off. At this point, they can't look at it and be like, yeah, this is going to turn out fine. You know,
I mean, are you really proud of what you've created here?
Yeah. Or unless we're going by the old clockmaker kind of idea, you know, someone made the universe and then just let it go, and they're not actually monitoring it or doing anything like that.
Right. It's just like developing things on its own. Do you think that like video games are like that for us? Like when we turn it off? Do you think that they actually continue to evolve like without us really knowing it?
Wow.
Wouldn't that be really interesting?
It would. Yeah, I am.
Like there actually is like this world that we create inside other worlds.
I don't know. I honestly, if you want my real answer, I think that every single person on this planet is running a simulation of the universe in their own head. I know that sounds dumb, but all of reality exists only in each and every single one of our heads, an entire universe. And when it is extinguished, an entire universe dies. I think that's insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really absolutely.
Our entire, like my entire understanding of the universe and the world, it's only contained in like a big hunk of muscle inside of a piece of bone. I think that's like really weird to think about. And you know, it's not like I think the world revolves around me, but my world revolves around me without a doubt. Like,
it's
everything I think and feel and respond to is only really happening within my brain.
Sure.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe. No, that's a great answer. So that was your real answer.
That was my real answer.
Can you give me your fake? Can you give me your fake answer?
My fake answer is I think that it's all just a big game of duck hunt. And each one of us is just the laughing dog hiding behind a bush.
Wow.
While all the ducks around us get blasted.
I'm putting my hands
exploding.
Yes, I'm putting my hands. We're gonna have to cancel the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Dan's head just exploded. His brain is all over the place. Dad comes in. What the hell happened in here?
Yep. Oh, we're talking about his duck hunt theory again.
It is duck hunt theory again. So,
we should get to this interview, right?
We really should. Let's life goes on long after the thrill of living is gone. And let me tell you,
the simulation is done.
The simulation is gone. And I'll tell you what, man, Nalani Proctor, she definitely is her own simulation of awesomeness. So let's talk to Nalani Proctor.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I can
absolutely. Can you hear me? Can both of you hear me fine?
Yeah, all right. You guys sound great. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you doing, Nalani?
I'm doing pretty good.
And now I am
Yeah.
saying that name right.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, good.
You said it
good.
right when you talked about the music in the past,
I
which
was
I was
hoping
like,
so.
heck yes. People know how to
Yes.
say my name.
Now I actually remember you from the PB and J's when you played
Mhm.
Muscatine a couple
Yeah,
of
the
times.
beef oven. I remember.
The Beef Oven, and
nice.
also you played that Muscatine Independent Film Festival when
Oh,
you.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
When you
Mhm.
now I only met you briefly. I don't know if you
Right.
remember, but I came up and I was like,
Mhm.
dude, that was an awesome set, and I bought your tape, the
Yeah.
PBJ's tape.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I like walked away and did what everybody did at the Beef Oven and just went and socialized with 20 people,
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
and don't remember any of it. But
No, it's okay. I was very awkward. I'm still very awkward in
oh yeah.
those settings. So it's very much like sometimes for me, it's very transactional. Like, oh, you love this music? That's awesome. Here, please take it. And then I don't socialize after that because I'm like, I have a job to do. That's my excuse. Is I
Sure,
have a
yeah,
job
yeah.
to do.
There you go. Well, that kind of actually could go right into well, I have a list of questions here, like 5
Awesome.
questions. And they're all really basic. I always ask the basic questions
Mhm.
on the podcast, and then Eric, I feel like you get creative with some of your questions.
Well, thanks for putting me on the spot. We'll see. They're gonna be
Yeah, we'll
they're gonna
see.
be terrible now. Yeah.
I hope not, and I don't think they will be.
Do you have
I don't-
any pets?
Do you-
Actually, that is one. I'm gonna write that one down. We'll come back. to
Okay,
that.
you write that down. We'll talk about them later.
We should ask every single guest if they've got pets. Me and
All right.
Eric, we talk about our cats.
Yeah.
Well, we have been the last couple episodes because I just got a new kitten.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eric, how long have you had your cat now?
We've had him just over a year now. He's a pandemic kitty. So
Pandemic kitty.
yeah, sometimes you need
So
cuddles when
sweet.
the world's dying around
That's
you.
right. That's right.
Absolutely. Now, what do you have for pets, Nalani?
I have 2 cats, and then we're kind of like a waypoint in our backyard for many an animal. But our 2 indoor cats, we have Goomba, who is newer. She's like 1.5, I think, or 2. We're not quite sure. She was a stray that started hanging out in our backyard last summer, and then just never left. And it was actually Christmas. On Christmas, she was hiding in our garage because it was so cold. If you remember, I don't know if you remember, but it was like one of those negative degree days. So we brought her inside, and she was just the quietest cat, and we were like, okay, we love her. And then our older cat, Luna, is 7. She's black. I should say Goomba is like tiger striped and leopard print at the same time. She's like all the colors. And Luna is black, named for Sailor Moon. And she is her own cat. She doesn't like to be told what to do, or she'll cuddle with you if she wants to, but if you try to cuddle with her, she'll give you some sass. And
Yeah.
I love her so much.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That sounds like almost every cat I've ever owned right
I
there.
love
actually.
sassy cats.
Yeah, sassy cats, man.
Sorry to hijack the show and talk about pets.
No,
I didn't
I
mean
love
to
it.
do that. So Dan, let's hear your big first question.
Well, it's like I said, it's a basic question. So Nalani, what got you into playing and writing music? I guess just kind of walk us through your history of being a musician or an artist, or all these things.
Sure. My parents are both they were music teachers. They're both now retired. But they were both music teachers, and it was like my mom said it was a family requirement to be in anything musical. So, I played the flute in band from 5th grade through 12th grade. I did. They tried to get me to do like piano and violin very young, like age 5 to about 10. And then they gave up because I wouldn't practice. I wouldn't do the things that you're supposed to do. I just wanted to play because you're a kid. And
Sure.
I think they thought I would be a prodigy of some sort because when I've been told the story that when I was 5 or maybe a little bit younger than that, I just know that my dad was getting his master's at the time in conducting. And so we were up in Iowa City a lot. And he was listening to something, I think it was Poulenc, or, it's like something in the classical range that's like all over the place, like tonal, microtonal or something like that. And, but he said that I would just sing it like it was nothing, apparently, as a little kid, which I think little kids, though, are sponges. So I think they were just like, ooh, exciting. She could do this one thing. Let's push her into that. So, so yeah, I got pushed into music at a very young age, and then I just never stopped. Like, I do love singing a lot, and so I studied singing pretty much my whole life. I will say that's something I would like to get back into, is like actually taking lessons for singing instead of just doing my usual warm-ups that I do. But yeah, I did, like I said, I did band, I did choir. I majored in vocal performance in college, undergraduate. I have not done any graduate school, because every time I think about it, I'm like, ooh, that doesn't seem like any fun. But yeah, I'm still singing, obviously, still making music.
Sure.
I didn't really start playing the guitar. I will say I didn't start playing the guitar until I was 18. So I felt like I started at it really late, and that was more just of like I want to play rock or punk music. Like, I went to in my middle school years, I was very much into Christian rock, as most sheltered Iowa teens are.
Sure.
And so I remember going to a show here in Keokuk that this guy put on, that was like, he would try to bring in like Christian based rock music. And I remember the band, their name was Feasel. I still have their CD. It's terrible, but I remember hearing them make like the feedback noise and hearing it for the first time in a live setting. Cause my parents had taken me to like classical music concerts, and we had gone, to bigger name bands or whatever, arena rock kind of stuff. But like the punk genre was super new to me, like in 6th grade, so I was like, I want to do that. And then I just kept asking for a guitar, and then I didn't get a guitar until like I was a senior in high school. So, so yeah, it kind of started from there. And then like when I went to college, that's when I started writing my own music, and it was all terrible. I mean, it's all, even now, I'm sure most musicians are like, it's all terrible. I still, will write something and they'll be like, love it for like, a little bit, and then hate it. And then I'll come back to it, because somebody will be like, that song's actually really good. And then I'll start playing it and I'll be, oh yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So yeah, that's, I guess, the gist of it in a very short amount of time that I can say.
You've been in quite a few projects over the years that are obviously, I know Finally Some Action is definitely active.
Yeah.
And then also your solo work. You talked about how you started to play guitar because you wanted to kind of play punk rock. And so that was kind of like your first inclination into the world of punk, which I know that both Eric and I have had conversations about when we first, started playing music. And I know that that's basically, I mean, I think it's safe to say, Eric, we both started playing music for basically the same reasons. We were into punk rock and just kind of wanted to write our own songs and everything.
Punk rock saved our lives, as they say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you first started, was there like a music scene in Keokuk? Were you a part of that? Were you in bands first, or were you always doing solo songs? Like, I guess, okay, when did you first start writing like your own songs?
Not too long after I got a guitar. And it was always just, I never wrote necessarily for a band, but my freshman year of college, I remember like meeting up, with my classmates, because the school I went to was a small school for music, And so I found a couple people who wanted to start a band with me, which was cool. So I would start to write stuff for that, but it was always like music kind of based around, it was still punk, like power chords and things like that, but there were still like classical elements in it because we were all, learning classical stuff. So I was like, how can I sneak Pachelbel's Canon into a punk song? Which most music, if you listen to it, is Pachelbel's Canon. It's the same chord progression. But yeah, I wanted to play punk rock, but I found out really quickly that like I always already tended to write in that singer-songwriter style. It was all like very emo driven, emotional driven. And so even though like the chord structure was punk, the lyrical structure was like emo. But as for like music scene, so we kind of had to at the school that I was going to, because I went to a small Christian school in Iowa for college from like starting around 2003. And there we had to make our own scene because it was super small. We kind of found the punks that were going to the school, and then like they made a club, and then bands would come to the school and play. So we ended up creating a scene there in Keokuk. I believe, was Music at the Mall a thing yet? I want to say yes. I don't know. Did you all ever make it down to Keokuk for Music at the Mall?
No, but Alex from Closet Witch always talks about it, him and Royce. Yeah. And also the band who I play with now, our drummer, Jeff Carl, he played in a band called Trash and the Time Bombs.
Yeah.
That played at Music in the Mall, I believe, fairly frequently, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a flash in the pan for sure. It was definitely like, I remember the guy that started it, Bryce Circle, when he had lived here, he was like, he basically like kind of started that particular venue, I guess you could call it, because there was no all ages venues. It was only bars here, and now it's back to really being only bars. Before that, before that venue started, we would try to throw our own shows, but there was no like scene. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't shows every weekend, or there wasn't houses having shows all the time. We would have our band, Handbook for the Recently Deceased, which my partner Dustin and I, and then a couple friends, Luke and Evan, were in. That was like post-hardcore. We would like throw a show at the Gate City Seed Heights, which was literally just a room above a plant shop. and
that sounds awesome.
Now, unfortunately, it was like it's the worst stairs. So like any meme that you've seen with the worst stairs, that was what it was like, lugging all the stuff up there. That
picture was taken there.
Yeah. No. Just saying, it's like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so this was above a plant store? Is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah. Oh. And the plant store's still there, and that space is still there, but I think it's rented out by like a dance studio now.
Did the plants mutate and grow and break windows and start
that's what I was
reacting to the music?
Kind of like that Plantasia record,
Yeah.
Maybe it was kind of like that it helped them grow, but
well, I was thinking an episode of the Ninja Turtles.
Of course you were, Dan.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. The one where the pizza plants. Anyway, go on.
Yes.
Sorry.
No.
That tickled me for some reason. Pizza plants. All right.
I like how you described that as that tickling you.
Now I want pizza.
Yeah. Well, when you mention pizza and plants and you put them together, it's really funny.
Yeah, that's my tickle trigger right there.
Tickle trigger.
Oh my god. Okay, sorry. Nalani, go ahead.
now we're making Nalani lose her thought.
Tickle trigger is now in my vocabulary forever. I'm never not gonna say that.
Boy.
But yeah, Music at the Mall, Bryce started Music at the Mall basically just throwing shows. I don't know how he had an in with the mall owner, but he would at first once a month have a show, or once every other month have a show in the literal hall of the mall. And we had, like, even back then, it was a dead or dying mall. It's a fully dead mall now, but then there was still stores and a movie theater, and so we would have it down on the end of the mall that was already dead, where there wasn't anything. And then eventually he managed to get a space on that same side of the mall, but it was like, we used to have a Heilig Myers furniture store, and the back room of it was like its own area, I guess. So because the Heilig Myers furniture store had been cut off and it was leaking horribly and probably full of black mold, but we would be in that back area, and it had its own door, but it had no heat. Luckily it did have bathrooms. So winter shows were like the worst. But Bryce was originally from Michigan, so he'd be like, "This is nothing. We used to have shows in barns in negative 30-degree weather." I'm like, "Yeah, but we're inside of a building right now." So we would literally have to open like in between bands, we would open doors so that the heat from the mall we would try to waft the heat from the mall into the room. It was ridiculous.
Wowzers, that's DIY as hell.
Yeah, it was super DIY. Alex was like a big part of getting the sound set up there. He kind of became the manager. Like, we were always there, like kind of being like security. I don't know. We were maybe too young. It was children leading children, essentially, right? Because it was all ages. So we're college age kids, and then like middle school and high school kids would come. And it became like this awesome space for a good few years. It had a great run. And then it dropped off because like a lot of the kids that were coming were graduating and going to college, but new kids weren't coming. So eventually we just, it had to stop, which all good things do have to come to an end. But it was a great time when it was happening.
Nice.
Wow. It sounds like you had a really, a much cooler DIY music scene than Muscatine.
It had its moments. I don't know, Muscatine. I feel like I loved the Beef Oven.
Well, yeah, but the Beef Oven was a very much later example. Like earlier, like we didn't have a central venue in Muscatine. We had to scrape together like.
What about the Muscatine Center, Dan?
You're talking about the MCSA. That's now the MCSA. Is that what you're talking about, or what?
I just wanted to say Muscatine.
I didn't know if you were like pulling my leg. Eric does this all the time. He makes stuff up and makes me believe him. I'm gullible.
And I'm a liar, so it works out really well.
But anyway, okay, so yeah, the Muscatine Center, which I must be too young to remember that.
Yeah,
is that a real thing, Eric?
It is. Yeah, that was where I booked my first show.
Did you have to pay money for the venue? Because I know that like
we had to rent it.
See, like when I was kind of doing it, like. Yeah, it was just a bunch of like we would randomly like rent out like the MCSA or the Armory. And then when, Corey got involved, in booking shows, that happened like it almost seemed like every weekend at like a different venue. Yeah. But yeah, we never had like any like central venue, like music at the mall. Like I can't really think of like, we can only say, hey, do you remember that show that happened at Knights of Columbus?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm sure Muscatine, similar to Keokuk, must also have like, some sort of music scene before even those, because like Keokuk is a music town. It has like Rollin' on the River, which is a blues festival that happens every year. It's got, actually, around the time of Music at the Mall, they started a festival called Back Alley Band Fest, which is just like, quote unquote local bands. Mostly it's cover bands because Keokuk is a very cover band heavy. Well, Iowa.
As is Muscatine.
Yep. Yeah, it's very cover band heavy.
That was the music scene that existed before Eric, like you kind of sort of had a hand, I think, in the first wave, and then we all just kind of
before
followed.
that, it was cover bands. I mean, legit just cover bands. And we did have festivals or whatever, like Great River Days, but those were always just cover bands too.
Right.
So,
sure.
But we've covered that ad nauseum on this show.
Yeah,
sure.
So we should talk to Nalani.
We definitely should talk to.
You know what we were talking about Muscatine, and I was just thinking my very first show in Muscatine was actually at the library. I
Oh.
played with, it was one of my first shows ever playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I played a solo show, and I played with like one other guy. I do not remember who he is. But
That's cool. So that was like, was that just like a solo? You said that was a solo show?
yeah, it was
So
just a solo show, and I
Yeah.
remember it vividly because I had just changed my strings, and so my guitar would
Oh.
auto tune it during every song,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
and it was like really terrible.
Wow.
You know,
I had no idea that you played at the Musser Public Library.
yeah.
Had you been playing for a little while at that point on your own?
Just a little bit. You know, it probably would have been earlier than that because I feel like I hadn't played many shows. My very first show, like ever, was like at somebody's festival at their house and the middle of nowhere, Missouri. I don't remember that, but I do remember like playing and being super nervous. So I was talking a lot. And just like somebody heckling me and being like,
Aw.
okay. And then, no, but I mean, that's a great, I think that's kind of a good, like, hey, you know, get it together kind of,
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. So aside from your solo work, there's also the synthwave or electronic side to you, which is the finally some action. And you even incorporate some of that stuff into your solo work. When did that kind of start coming into play with like your musical projects?
so Dustin started, because Dustin is like the main instrumentalist for Finally Some Action. And he started writing our first album 3 years before it even came out. He did inspire me to start kind of like playing around with Logic Pro 10, which is the digital audio workstation that I use. From there, then I kind of moved into doing some other, I call it experimental. I don't know if it's necessarily experimental, but just, you know, different kind of synth wavy music under the moniker Cancer Leo. And then we obviously collaborate on like, he'll put down some sort of idea and I'll be like, yeah, great. How does this melody sound? You know, that kind of thing. So, or he'll just write the whole thing and he'll kind of sing to me what he thinks it should be like. And then I will sing it. And he's like, yes, do it that way, not the way I sang it. But we really wanted to like make music about things that we loved. And Finally Some Action is very 80s heavy inspired, a lot of pop media, pop
Absolutely.
culture.
Yeah, that's one thing I
Yeah.
really like about it. I think just in our slight interactions online and just kind of going through your stuff, I think we both have a pretty healthy love of horror. And that's one thing I really love Finally Some Action, by the way.
Thank you.
But I noticed that when people say the term synthwave, it's almost completely synonymous with John Carpenter. That I don't always get out of Finally Some Action. It's not always horror sounding. It's more pop sounding.
Yeah.
And I actually, for as much as I love horror, I really appreciate that as well, because it's so, the synthwave scene seems flooded with just horror score music. And so to hear some pop is really cool.
I think it's interesting because, and synthwave purists, like people in that kind of family, or, you know, that really pay attention to that musical genre, they like really get down to the nitty gritty of like, well, what exactly is the genre of this music? And synthwave, even though we say, yes, we are synthwave or retrowave, technically we're not, we're synth pop because there's singing. Right. And you can't have singing in synthwave for some reason. Yeah. I don't know.
Can't we all just love synths? I mean,
yeah. The horror side of your writing, I really enjoy too. That's actually my introduction to you, was the PBJs and that horror love video that you did.
Right. Yeah.
That was absolutely fantastic.
And that was easy to do because the drummer of that act, Jason Bollinger, is the other half of Prescribed Films. Well, I should say a co-director of Prescribed Films, which is a film group based out of Ottumwa. And so they do horror movies or genre films specifically. And And so it was easy to be like, hey, I wrote this song about horror movies. And then he went to his co-creator, and they were like, let's make, here it is. Here's the music video that we're going to make. And then we did it. And actually, after doing that music video, I got poison ivy real bad. Fun fact.
Oh,
Wow.
man. And that's the real horror of it all.
Yeah,
that was. No, but that was fun. That was a fun music video to shoot. Yeah, a lot of good times with that band, and just like, because they do horror genre films, and then they also do a podcast that we wrote music for before, that's like horror, based synth music.
God.
And
what is this podcast called?
it's called Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Okay, great.
And so, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of horror fans in Iowa.
Hey, Nalani, I do actually have a specific question about one of your albums, because I was going through your discography and listening to like the Circuits of Time EP and from Finally Some Action, and then a lot of that song Circle Pit, the first song on your I'm assuming that was your first album. That's a great song. Definitely I can hear the punk influence in that, but it seems to me that there was a record in your discography that just kind of what I read about it that you talked about kind of seemed like almost like a very, like, I guess, relevant record in your, I guess, musical growth. And that's the album Nothing.
Yeah.
I listened to that record and it's fantastic. I have to say it's
Thank you.
Some of my favorite work. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but what I kind of read was that it was kind of like a labor of love for you, and you kind of felt like that was leading up to writing a record, kind of like that. Is that kind of, or am I misinterpreting the whole thing?
No, yeah, it is, because I for the album Nothing, I had like written a bunch of songs and then just threw them all away. Because during that time period, we lost Dustin's mom to cancer, and that was a big blow for us, because she was like everything, So we had that happen. We had just moved, and moving can be stressful. I had stopped playing in other bands at that time as well, so it was like a lot of emotional things that I didn't really have a place to put it. And then I was like, duh, you're a songwriter, you can just do it. So so like a lot of these, the album itself, when I was writing the songs, they were just kind of coming out, but I didn't like have a clear vision of it until I realized that some of them started working together as a story. And the whole album is supposed to be like a day to night cycle, essentially. Waking up in the morning, going through your day. Most folks, experience some sort of emotional roller coaster in the day, even if we don't want to. Like that 2 p.m. What is that called? Where you're just like really tired.
Like the crash.
Yeah, the 2 p.m. crash. And then you're like coming back up. There was like Little Bird, the first song on the album, I wrote during the last 2 weeks of Dustin's mom's life. Like I started it and then like kind of finished it like right after she passed away. Writer's block. That was the first song I had written after having like a full like year of not being able to write anything. So that one was like very real and visceral.
The guitar tone on that one in particular, that it's almost got like a, did you listen to that song by any chance, Eric?
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
Okay, that song
sounds like I missed out.
It's okay.
I'm gonna say this, because it's got like a little bit of a twang reverb thing to it, and Eric loves twang and reverb.
Yes.
It is a total, to me, Nalani, it is a total standout track, and that entire album
awesome
stood out to me anyway. Like that's why I'm kind of asking you about it, because it seemed like maybe a new beginning. Maybe that sounds kind of a little absurd.
I would say that because I did I like really pushed myself on this album. I know like it's old hat now that that's one person does everything, but you know, at the time I was also kind of going through this existential crisis, and like I didn't know that I could do everything, and then I just kind of pushed myself to do it. And so kind of like the editing of it and adding in like, oh, how do I make, you know, this sound go into the next track so that it just leads right into it instead of this track ends, next track starts. Because I wanted to do a lot of like, you're gonna listen to the whole album as one thing. You're talking about the guitar tone like I really like fussed over it. I didn't. I just said, oh, this sounds cool. This is the one I want.
Which is, I mean, that's how you get. I mean, in my
that's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. That's how it always happens with me. Because I know nothing. You can ask Eric. I know nothing about audio, like editing, audio, sound, anything. Like,
yeah. Did you enjoy doing that all on your own then? And you've continued to do that since?
Yeah.
Then, right?
Yeah. I really did, because before that, you know, I would go, I was working with Travis Atkinson, who's based in Centerville. And he did my first album. And then I was going to go back, and like stuff kind of fell to the wayside and didn't really work out in the way that I wanted to. And then I had worked with Jason, who I was in the PBJs with. He also records stuff, and so I was working with him, and like the back and forth sometimes with other musicians and recording engineers. You know, sometimes I would just be so impatient. So I was just like, you know, the only person you can be impatient with if you're doing everything is yourself. And so like I remember after like finishing recording Nothing, I still had like all this energy to like record and stuff like that. And so that's when I started doing my other like side synth project, Cancer Leo, because I was like, hey, I'm still in the mood to record, so let's just do something. Let's just make something that you've never done before. And so there was that, and then it kind of spawned like, okay, let's go back and forth between the two. So I really like having an outlet of like the singer-songwriter, flowery lyrics, and then just like weirdo, let's take sound samples and smush them together and maybe something will work. But
well, that totally makes sense. The way you described Nothing and how it's a record where you're kind of coming down from writer's block. And it's supposed to kind of like take you through this journey of like a day. And like the opening track, Little Bird, I mean, that almost sounds like and then I hear the alarm clock throughout the record too. So that totally makes sense. I wanted to quickly touch on the band Depression, because I have a question. That is a band that you were in with Alex, right?
Yeah. So we started, it was Dustin, myself, and Alex. Dustin playing drums, I'm on guitar, and Alex was playing bass. And we did that. We like kind of I just wanted to start a band just to like have another punk band. And we literally just practiced for like a year and a half just for fun. And then finally we're like, well, I guess we could play a show. And then we played some shows. And then stuff, I think, stuff really started taking off for Closet Witch. And so Alex left, and Mia came in, Mia Cesar. And so she like really just fell right in. There was no issue. And so I would love for us to come back and get together someday eventually, start playing again, because we really haven't played in a band setting since COVID, you know. So eventually, when we're all feeling a little bit more better about it, I would like for us to get back out there and just I like that band a lot, because there's really no like expectations. It's very for me, it's very raw, and like I'm gonna scream, yell, and let out all my frustrations. And
have you all recorded anything, or
We have not.
Hang out. Okay, that's why I was not able to find
Like
it.
I said,
That all
there's
makes sense.
no expectations. We're very lazy.
So who did you say is playing in that right now? Then
It's myself and Dustin and Mia.
okay, cool.
Awesome.
I love Mia.
Yeah.
One of the
Which
nicest people I've met in a long time, and I desperately want to play music with her, but it just has not worked out yet. So
yeah. I do love that, you know, for a little while there, I guess it only lasted for about a year, if that, but, you know, Mia and Chris Hall had started The Hole, another all ages music venue here, for just like the smallest amount of time. That one was truly like a blink and it was gone. But, you know, circumstances happen. And
This was an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
Nalani, thank you for doing this.
Of course. Anytime.
Yeah. I hope to see you, live again at some point, whether that would be in your solo work, Finally Some Action. Well, I have watched the Finally Some Action live stream that is on your YouTube channel.
Oh, man. I was going to ask about Twitch because I am. Oh, no.
So like I do play music on my Twitch every Friday and Sunday, and then I do other things on other days. Like I've been in the midst of the pandemic, I've been getting into making miniature buildings.
Oh, cool.
From kits and from scratch. So I will stream that. I've been painting Bob Ross paintings.
Oh, wow.
So,
nice.
But I do a challenge with it where I won't look at what he's doing. I will only listen to what he's doing, because I think like most people, I've watched a fair few of his videos, and so like I kind of like understand what he's doing, but it's always with, you know, there's something to it. So like people can play sound alerts and mask his voice so I can't hear anything, and then it becomes a psychic challenge. Just make it up as you go along.
So they're interacting in real time too.
Yeah. So I really like it though, because it's a very interactive space. But it's a safe, you know, like if we're in a bar, I think of it almost like you're in a public bar. People come and go. The only difference is that you're chatting the whole time, and it's not a nuisance to the performer. So as a performer, you know, there's people chatting, and they're like throwing up little emoticons that are like dancing, or they're I have these gifs. People can do dancing gifs, and so they can do that. So it's like people are interacting. It's pretty fun. It can be pretty fun. It's just been really fun to be able to be like, hey, I'm going to play music for this person who lives in Canada, or this person who is in Brazil, or, you know, like that's what got me, that's what kept me doing it, is because I could talk with these people all over the world. Yeah. And like, you know, it's great to play a IRL in real life live show, but there's only so much interaction before and after the performance. Yeah. Whereas like with Twitch, it's all at once. So like, I could play a song, some people could be having this conversation, and then after the song, I can be like, okay, let me read the conversation that's happening over here
and respond
and respond. Wow. So
that's
and then cool. Obviously, you know, there's hecklers, and then we just kick them out.
Yeah, sure. That is amazing. What time do you play on Friday and Sunday? The music
on Fridays, I usually play at around 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Sundays, it depends, but usually it's at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. This week, I will not be playing on Friday, but I am playing on Sunday, and then I'll be back on a regular schedule. So
cool. Do you still do your baking melodies at all?
No, I have. So the last one I actually did with my friend Kayla Lohman, who does artwork, and we did that over Zoom. I keep thinking about it. I want to do it, but I just haven't been comfortable like bringing people into the house to do something like that, because it's food related.
Sure.
But man, it would be cool to start it up again. I have been cooking on Twitch as well. Like I'll do a cooking stream every once in a while. So it's like
yeah. I remember that episode.
We need like I'm sorry. To find you,
no, that's okay.
How do we find you?
Oh, that's a great question. So I don't know why I didn't just use my name, because I didn't, but
Yeah.
my Twitch is twitch.tv/unfocused, UNFOCUSED, in IA, like in Iowa, but INIA. It is a mix of like originals and covers, and people do give me song requests. I have a song list that people can go to and be like, I would
sweet.
like to hear this, so you can request stuff. I've been trying to do a lot more like 80s and 90s, because that's kind of, my youth, so it's very nostalgic. In October, spooky month, I had dressed up for every stream, and also tried my best to like learn Nightmare Before Christmas songs, which I guess technically Christmas is coming up, so those songs are
still relevant.
Yeah.
So other than
Sweet.
Twitch, what else do you have coming up? Anything else? Any releases or shows?
No shows at the moment, but this month I've been trying my best to write a song every day for a new song November, which I believe, I don't know necessarily if Lily Dete started it, but she's the first Iowa artist that I saw do it a couple years ago. And so I'm kind of following in that, and I've just been trying to write a song every day this month, and then I will post those to my Patreon. And writing a song every day is really difficult.
I bet.
It's all garbage. It's all it feels like that. I know there's some like snippets of parts where I'm like, I like that, I'm gonna rework that in the future, but I'm hoping to put something like an actual album or something out by next summer. So that's kind of what I'm working on. Whether or not that actually happens, we'll see. But if I do that, then it will, there'll be a show and touring and all that jazz.
Well, maybe we can have you back then.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much
love
again.
Chatting horror and anything and everything.
Well, I can't wait till you come around, or somehow Dan or I or both make it your way. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon.
Do you see Alex very often?
I'm about to see him.
Tell him that the Accelerativ Thrust says hi.
I will.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, cool. Well, I guess we'll just talk to you later then. Thanks again,
Okay.
Nalani.
Thank you. Thanks.
Sounds good. Yes.
Bye.
Have a good night, Nalani.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Okay, so before we go, let's talk about the calendar of what's coming up. Most of the shows are sort of all clustered in the same general time frame. So tonight, Ton Nguyen and Death Bag, who is Gabby Van Eck and Chris Wersma, that'll be going on at the Trumpet Blossom. So we're talking about Thursday, the 11th. Friday, the 12th. I don't know these groups, but they're local, and it's a show, and it's happening. It's Sorry Pluto, The Slow Retreat, and 404. That's at the Octopus in Cedar Falls, again on Friday the 12th. Saturday the 13th, we have a few shows. Fathom, Heavyweight, Drowning Life, Vestige, and Crimson Clean Sweep. It's going to be happening at the Black Hawk Room in Moline, Illinois. Then we have a real nice metal show for you. Exhumed, Creeping Death, Bewitcher, and Enforced. That's going to be at the Raccoon Motel in Davenport. And then Dead Coast presents Darren Bradbury with Brian Johansson. That's happening on the 13th as well. That's happening at the Trumpet Blossom. Unfortunately, I didn't find much else happening. I've checked all the places I check, all the groups that I checked, even Queensryche Anonymous, and I just wasn't able to come up with a lot. If you have shows coming up, please let us know. You can message any of the Accelerativ Thrust pages, or even my page, whatever, it doesn't matter. Or like I said, you could go to Queensryche Anonymous or Goo Goo Box Those are both up and running as of right now. And so anyway, yeah, go ahead and let me know some shows that are happening. I don't mind not having shows to report, but when I find out like 2 days later that some sick ass show happened, it's always like kind of disappointing. So
Sure.
yeah, so y'all let me know.
All right. Well, nonetheless, that sounds like some interesting stuff happening.
Yeah, not to belittle these shows. These are sweet shows.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in Iowa these days.
Yeah. For
So
sure.
that's really cool. Now Exhumed, they're kind of a they're not from here, right? They're kind of like a bigger, like, aren't they like a relapse death metal band or something?
Yeah, they are. They've been around a long time and they're sweet. So
Sweet. Yeah. And then that Death Bag, that sounds really awesome. Gabby.
Yeah.
So yeah, all kinds of stuff going on.
Yes.
So you've seen Death Bag before?
Yeah, I did get to see them at a basement show a while ago, and it was cool. It's really, I mean, it's noise and bassoon also running through a bunch of effects and pedals, and then yeah, it's a barrage, as they say, of noise. Good stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff for sure. Good stuff for sure. So where does that leave us, Eric? Is everyone going to have a good week, do you think?
I don't know. Depends on who's playing the duck hunt game, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. I just looked at my computer and
yeah.
The date. Yes. The date is 9/11 on my computer.
Wow.
Yeah. Today is what? November. Oh, okay.
9th.
I know why it is.
Oh,
all right. So it says 9/11, but I guess like
but it's 11/9.
11/9, but the 11 and 9 are backwards. That's freaky.
So 11/9 you can sort of forget. Is that the idea?
Yeah. 11/9. After 11/9, we can get back to the meaningless BS of real life.
Oh, I
guess.
hope so. I hope someday we can just wake up and go, man, what's going on? Nothing. Oh, great.
That's amazing.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Like none of this stuff. No things happening.
Yeah.
No,
I'm sick of this stuff.
I'm tired of things.
Let's cool it on the stuff. Who's ever running this simulation?
Cool it on the stuff and no things.
Yeah.
No things, no stuff. That should be our new chant, Eric.
Yeah.
No things, no stuff. No things, no stuff. Or no stuff, no things. I don't know which one sounds
no
better,
things but trouble. That's what I say.
No things but trouble. There we go. Oh geez.
Okay.
Anyway,
yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
So next week, get ready for the hair metal special.
Hair metal, we're gonna go all Bret Michaels and Dee Snider and Vince Neil on you.
Oh, yeah, that's like my top 3 right there. So no surprises. I'm just kidding. We're gonna have so many surprises.
Yeah, so many. It's gonna be like unbelievable. We may even have a special guest who is just one of us with a different voice.
What? You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first. No secrets. No secrets. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. You all have a good week.
Bye.
Bye. I don't want to piss off the Goo Goo Dolls. I hear they're very, very angry.